Nigeria loses sovereign immunity claim as U.S. court upholds $70 million award to Chinese firm. Gavel Court. Nigeria's claim to sovereign immunity cannot stand in a commercial venture, a U.S. appeal court has ruled. The court rejected Nigeria's sovereign immunity defense to the enforcement of a $70 million investment treaty award won by Zhongshan, Fucheng Industrial Investment Company Limited, a Chinese investor, in a free trade zone. Nigeria had, gruesomely, violated both fundamental and commercial rights of the Chinese firm, judges at the U.S. Court of Appeals in Washington, D.C. ruled. In a 2-1 verdict delivered on August 9, the majority ruling affirmed the judgment of the U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia that held that the arbitration award is enforceable. In January 2023, Beryl Howell, the presiding judge of the lower court, dismissed Nigeria's argument that the court did not have jurisdiction over the case since the country is a sovereign entity. Howell held that the court has jurisdiction since the United Kingdom, UK, where the $70 million arbitration award was issued against Nigeria, is a signatory to the New York Convention. Zhongshan Fucheng vs. Nigeria. In 2010, Zhongshan, through Zhuhai Zhongfu Industrial Group Company Limited, Zhuhai, its Chinese parent company, acquired rights to develop a free trade zone in Ogun State. A year later, Zhongshan set up Zhongfu International Investment, NIG, FZE Zhongfu, a Nigerian entity, to manage the project under the permission of the Ogun State government. However, things took a different turn in July 2016, when the investor accused the state government of abruptly moving to terminate its appointment while attempting to install a new manager for the free trade zone. Subsequently, Zhongfu initiated an investment treaty arbitration against Nigeria under the bilateral investment treaty between the People's Republic of China and Nigeria, the China-Nigeria BIT. The arbitrators had ruled that Nigeria was in breach of its obligations under the China-Nigeria BIT, and awarded Zhongshan compensation of around $70 million. In January 2022, the Chinese company initiated a case to seek enforcement of the arbitration award. Nigeria pleaded state immunity, but was turned away by Sir Kakaril, a High Court judge in the UK, who said the country abused the time frame for appealing arbitral awards. The U.S. Appeal Court judgment. In the majority judgment, the U.S. Appellate Court held that the final arbitration award is enforceable under the New York Convention since the dispute is between persons that share a legal commercial relationship. The court ruled that the Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act, FSIA, arbitration exception stripped Nigeria of the sovereign immunity in the arbitration award case. For the foregoing reasons, we hold that the final award is enforceable under the New York Convention because it arose out of differences between persons that share a legal, commercial relationship, the majority judgment reads. The District Court therefore has jurisdiction over this case under the FSIA's arbitration exception. The judgment of the District Court is affirmed. The majority judgment was issued by Patricia Millett and Juliana Childs. In the dissenting judgment, Gregory Katsars, the third judge, argued that when the New York Convention was drafted, the word persons did not include a sovereign nation. Katsars held that the action of Ogun State cannot be attributed to Nigeria, adding that the arbitration award arises solely out of Nigeria's sovereign acts governed by public international law. Text, legal context, and drafting history all indicate that the word persons, as used in the New York Convention, does not include signatory nations acting as sovereigns. I respectfully dissent, Katsars said. Nigeria losing case against Chinese firms in multiple jurisdictions. 3 days after the judgment of the U.S. Appeal Court, a Paris court in France ordered the seizure of 3 jets belonging to the Nigerian government over the dispute involving the arbitration award to the Chinese firms. In 2023, a court of appeal in the UK ruled that Nigeria is liable for a $70 million arbitration award in favor of the Chinese firm. The development means that Nigeria has lost arbitration award cases against the Chinese firm in France, the US, and the UK. The Nigerian government has accused the Chinese firm of attempting to use deceptive means to acquire the country's offshore assets.
Thank you, folks. Let's go to our next story. You know, both Nigeria and the People's Republic of China may be headed for a diplomatic row over the seizure of 3 presidential jets by a Chinese company, Zhongshan Fucheng Industrial Investment Company Limited. Now, trouble started, you want to know, in 2007, following a contract between Ogun State government and the company to manage a free trade zone. In 2015, both parties entered into a trade dispute, and while arbitration, that is settling the matter without going to court, began in 2016. In 2019, the actual panel, the arbitral panel, awarded a $60 million fine against the federal government. The Ogun State government resolved to resist the enforcement of the award, and this led to the seizure of 3 presidential jets in Paris, France, by the Chinese firm. And the federal government wouldn't have any of this, and it reacted by declaring that the jets are sovereign assets that are immune from seizure. So, weighing in on the matter, therefore, the presidential candidate of the Labour Party in the 2023 elections, Peter Gregory, said the seizure of 3 presidential jets constituted an international embarrassment that demanded full explanation. Please, you agree?
I do agree with him that it's an embarrassment. But at the same time, too, I also want to state that if there is any lacuna that the Chinese firm can capitalize on, it's going to do it. Because when you have agreements, there are usually clauses. Those clauses are not made known to the public now. And I want to believe that some of these clauses must have been responsible for the kind of judgments that this Chinese firm are able to secure in a foreign land. Something happened to me maybe recently. I went to the bank and you know, they give us, when you want to open an account, they give you forms and they write different tiny things behind.
Yeah, the small letters, the fine print.
Yes, most of us, we don't read through.
You bypass.
You just bypass and you just...
Without you knowing.
Yes, you just sign. But that particular day, I decided to read through those tiny things.
Just say the journalist in you was alive.
I was just, yes. But you know what? I discovered so many things in those tiny lines that in that tiny line, I discovered that whatever money I put in the bank, the bank does not have, I don't have any power over the bank to give me back that money, provided the operating environment makes it difficult for the bank to pay me my money. Wow. It is in that tiny line. I saw it there. And that is the reason why when you see banks, you know, folding up now, you hear stories of people that have 2 billion naira and they say they will just give you 5 million. They are in those tiny details that we all sign without looking at. So there are going to be tiny details that the Ogun State government signed with this Chinese firm that they didn't.
It was oblivious of that.
That is why when you want to sign agreements, your legal team must also be
break it down.
Yes, they must break it down. They must also be forward looking.
Okay.
For example, now they must also have put it there that whatever belongs to the government of Nigeria are sovereign assets.
Yeah. And
this agreement, as we have nothing to do with the sovereign assets of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and all of that. You know, I'm not a lawyer, but there are so many things that they could bring in, you know, when you are signing agreements. And I'm sure that if the court did not have a reason to make the pronouncement it made, it wouldn't have been able to do so.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying this so that for future references, when we want to do things, but the problem here is that I do not want to accuse, but I think most of the time when we want to sign agreements of this nature, because there are usually major interest in the process of doing these things, a lot of things could be omitted, a lot of things that we need to really pay close attention to.
Yeah.
We may not pay such attention, and that is what causes this kind of thing.
Emeka, but you have managed to remember she's a proud daughter of Ogun State.
Yes, and she's
an Ijebu woman for
right,
that matter.
she's right to be worried. You see, I've read the statements put out by officials of the federal government and the Ogun State government, and I wonder, do they know that things are changing globally? Things are changing. You can actually get what they call conservatory reliefs, rulings from courts in some jurisdictions that permit you to pounce on what they call exotic assets of presumed debtor states. So it has even, the determination has gone to the point that if, let's say, an agency of government, let's say a traffic agency or sanitation agency of government, does something that, if that a foreign entity feels infringed on its right, it can actually take it up internationally.
Seek redress.
Yes, seek redress, and it will bounce back on the federal government of Nigeria. It's possible that in negotiating this agreement, the federal government was not actually given the true picture. Now the federal government has to bear the direct liability.
That's in consonance with what Bisi said earlier.
Yes, it's possible. And then again, you see, when you look at a case of this nature, what's the creditor, the presumed creditor, what are they looking for? They want to force you to come for settlement, to switch. You are saying you will resist. Okay, they've not gone in the way that will make you to come and sit at the round table with them. And in doing that, the terms may not actually be favorable to you. And don't forget, China controls anything that its companies, do outside its territory. So, like was said, in the opening lines of your intro to this topic, it may be presumed that there might arise a diplomatic tiff between Nigeria and China. But I'm thinking that it will not bode well for us, because there are deeper issues in Nigeria's relationship with the international community. Of course, you saw under Buhari courted China very well. Took loans from them under the Belt and Road Initiative. They did railways, power stations, and all of those things. But now President Tinubu has come in with a pro-West, idea, with a pro-West stance, sort of leaving China out in the cold. So I think.
So you think this is a subtle fight back?
It might be. Nothing is impossible. But I think we should look more at the bigger picture. Thank God the Attorney General of the Federation, Minister of Justice, Lateef Fagbemi, has said that Nigeria will explore diplomatic and legal angles, which I hope that the diplomatic will weigh more than the legal. Because these things have, you can see that the way the matters have gone, these arbitral matters have gone, they've really studied what they believe, like Dr. Fosile said, are the loopholes, which they can capitalize upon. And the fact of the matter, like Peter said, that the federal government should come clean. What were two of your aircraft doing there? That is it true that you are? No, there is a third one that was said to have been bought or something and was not delivered. And yes, that's 3. And then there is also the allegation that a former minister, that is all that is, in cahoots. Yes, in cahoots with this company to preclude, to foreclose, to stop the seizure of a private jet belonging to him. I don't know how helpful that is to this matter, but I think, well, it's interesting that China has, the People's Republic of China has invited President Tinubu on a state visit. So I just hope that, Nigeria can play for time so that during that visit, if it comes quickly, they can iron out any gray areas.
Yeah. You see, in tagging along with what Mr. Obi had said, we belong in a community that seemingly does not punish bad behavior. And so if we get to the root of the matter and somebody is punished, it will not be asking for too much.
Well, but I also doubt if that is going to happen, because I think from the surface, this is a deal between a state government and a subnational with a Chinese firm.
Okay.
You understand? So I don't think, and I also think the deal is open, is legal, just that probably how the transactions were made, and also the fact that there was already a claim that Ogun State government ought to have paid to that firm, which was not paid. Yeah. So I think it's a case of you think you can handle a thing the way you want to handle it, and the other party tells you that, look, I can be smarter than you are, and if I'm smarter than you are, I know where to take you to. So I guess that is just the case here, and I want to believe that we will resolve it diplomatically. But I can assure you that no matter how diplomatic we go, the initial $60-something million that was awarded to that firm is going to be paid. And also, I think Nigeria should also learn a lesson from this, that when you go into agreements with all these Chinese firms or all these foreign bodies, you think that
read between the lines.
Yes, because they are into business and they are smarter than us. It's not a case of, we are the ones that we have our own assets. Well,
we are smart people, but
yes, sometimes we don't behave smartly.
But you understand smart, quote.
Sometimes we don't behave smartly. For example, we are the ones that will be producing crude in Nigeria now, and for more than 60 years, we cannot refine our own products
by choice.
By choice. So are we smart? And we now import. We export everything and import all those things back.
And my intervention here is, you send a barrel of crude out, and all you get in return is premium motor spirit. When you have as many
more than how many
42 byproducts.
Exactly. So how smart can we say we are? So, but these ones, they don't operate like that. When they go into business,
I hope you are not asking me to spell smart.
No, if when they go into business, they go into it with all their heart.
If I'm able to look, if I'm able to go from what Dr. Foley said, if you look at the Chinese government, this whole thing arose from a treaty between Nigeria and China in 2001, and then another Belt and Road Initiative. China tells its companies, make use of every channel under our protection in case any disputes arise in your host state.
Okay.
And if you look at that matter, involving the retired British jurists, if you look at it, it was said clearly, they talked about, there was that emotional line. That one Mr. Zhao was detained for 2 weeks by the police. He was maltreated, he was threatened, he was arrested at gunpoint. And then the Nigerian Immigration Service seized the papers on Chinese and all of that. And then now, what do you think? Reading between the lines, what do you think they're trying to achieve? To also impugn on the image of Nigeria as an investor-friendly destination. That's why I think sometimes when we bring in the police, the security agencies into certain issues involving foreign investors, we need to think very, very well, and we must weigh our options
Okay.
Yes, the police, they are the primary law enforcement agency
otherwise,
in Nigeria.
But
we
should not go into any business with our 2 eyes closed.
No. In fact, we should not even sleep until we are sure that we have safely locked the files, in a fireproof and, in a tight and airtight safe with the keys safely hidden not even in our pocket, because
They can.
it can be in a place where only us know how to.
Okay.
All
right. As always, our business is just to mold opinion, and I know decision makers in the country are watching us. So, okay, let's tackle our last.
Thanks for tuning in to Smart Okoson TV show. Keep exploring, stay curious, and never stop getting the latest information happening around. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share to keep the intellect flowing. Until next time, keep sharpening and be smart.